Good. Again, if everybody can turn their cameras, it's 6 o'clock and we should get going. Hello, Nancy. Good to see you again. Hello, Sherry. Get comfortable. Dominique, Donna, and hi, Nazanin. Good to see you again. Okay, so let's all get comfortable. And what I like to do in this age of Zoom is to bring us all together, even though we are far apart. So we're going to start, before we begin, we're going to start with an exercise. And it will help if everybody has their screens on, because with this exercise, we want to look at each other.
Where do you turn the screen on?
Where you have the camera, the video emblem at the bottom of the screen. It says mute. There we go.
Okay.
Hello, Donna. And Dominique, if you can turn your camera on, that'll be great. And I would like to bring us all together with just a very simple exercise that will bring a lot of presence, connection, and mindfulness. So if you can all face the screen. Good. And the exercise is quite simple. I call it touching the waterfall. How many of you have touched a real waterfall before? Okay, so we're gonna do a virtual touch the waterfall exercise, and it's gonna bring us again to a state of oneness and connection and mindfulness. Okay. And this is what it looks like. I'm just gonna admit those last minute ones. Okay, we're gonna raise our arms very slowly. And as we bring them down with our fingertips, feel and experience as if we're touching water coming down. And you do it with an inhalation. An exhalation down. Very slowly, Donna. Everybody at the same time then. In unison. As one. Yes. And in. And out. And you might even feel a sensation in your hands and your fingertips as we come down to touch this invisible waterfall. And in. And keeping an eye on all of us. So I want us all to be as one. Okay, in. 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 Take your time. In. And out. As you're doing this, imagine as if you're emptying your mind as you're touching the water. You're so present with the movement and the water, your mind just empties. Don't lose your mind, just watch. Don't get distracted. All as if we are one touching the water together. Yes. And 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 2 more times. Fantastic. Well, thank you. Welcome to tonight's class. I'm honored to have all of you here. Some familiar faces, some old faces, and some new. Thank you for giving me your time today. We'll honor it, and hopefully we'll give you a lot of value just by sharing some of my tools, my knowledge, and my experiences with you today. So that's what I'm hoping that you will get out of it today. A few tools right away that you can use, and some experiences to understand those tools. And they do work. Every tool that I will give you works. And the only time it doesn't work is when you don't use it. And the more you use it, the more you understand how it works. And the more you use it, when something arises, when you need to troubleshoot, you can refer to this tool, to any of those tools that we'll introduce today and in the next weeks. So please, you don't have to use all of them all at the same time. If you grab a few of them during the next 6 weeks, that will help. Even one of those tools will help you solve your immediate issues and issues arising as they come. So again, I will give you the tools, but it's your choice to use them. So before we start, I want to share a poll just to see where you're all at. So if you don't mind taking a minute just to fill up the poll, it's right here. It should show up on your screen. Just to understand what people are dealing with in general, what they're experiencing, and where they're at. Okay, so thank you all. We almost finished. Okay. So we get in the picture. So the majority of us right now, are suffering obviously from tension and stress. No kidding. We've been a year under quarantine. So that by itself is going to bring a lot of tension, stress. Majority of us have chronic pain, and 50% of us have anxiety. Some of us are quite fatigued, and some of us can't sleep, and we have digestion problems. So that all makes sense. Sorry, just trying to shut that off. Now, how long have we had it for? It seems like the symptoms for most of us have been around for 3 to 6 months. So 36% of us have experienced the symptoms for 3 to 6 months. 18% of us 1 to 5 years with pain and chronic conditions. And 17% 10 to 30 years. So that's a long time. That's a big chunk of our life living with chronic pain or chronic conditions that don't go away. So, and that's not far from the statistics that I've seen. So thank you for sharing that with me. Now, at any point during today's class, if anybody's triggered or moves into an anxious or panic state, please either say something in the comments or raise your hand, and we can introduce it to to help you right away. So at any point, if anybody, again, is triggered for whatever reason, as a panic attack or an anxiety attack, just let me know and we'll take care of it right away. Is that fair? Is that okay? So I want to create a safe space for all of us today and as we move along. And no matter what happens here, it can be handled. Just let me know. So I'll share my screen with you. I just prepared a few slides. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Good. Okay. So some of you know me, but some of you don't. You know, my journey started like many of you with a severe traumatic injury at early 20s, and I had a severe lower back injury at work. And I didn't tell anyone that I was injured because I was a proud man working amongst men that were much older than me. So by the time I finished my shift, I could barely walk. I practically crawled home. And then I went and I did what many of us do, which is go to the doctor. The doctor prescribed pills, gave me injections, and the pain wasn't going away. If anything, it was making me groggy, constipated, and irritated. Then I went to a rehab facility for about 3 months. It was through workers' compensation. It didn't do anything. I was zapped, I was ultrasound, I was given all kinds of exercises, and months now go by and the pain wasn't going away. By this time, I was becoming anxious, losing sleep, and becoming quite depressed. When I saw that the physio wasn't helping, I went out of my own volition and tried chiropractic treatments. You know, x-rays were taken, the problem was shown, the body was manipulated, but the problem didn't go away. So then I said, the hell with this adjustments. If anything, it was making my head spin. And I went and tried massage therapy. The problem was identified, the massages were given, it felt good for the moment, but the pain didn't go away. Then I tried osteopathy and acupuncture. And I started to do what I call now the circuit, you know. And a lot of us do this circuit going from one therapist to another. And the problem doesn't go away. We get all these opinions, all this analysis, and if anything, we'll become paralyzed with all that information. And with time, and time goes by, and the pain doesn't go away, it becomes quite anxious, and it brings a depressive state. So I was a very depressed young man who prided myself on being an athlete, and I can recover from anything very quickly, and nothing was changing. And a year goes by and nothing was changing until one day I decided to meditate. And I had a really profound experience. And to make a long story short, through this experience, memories released from my childhood, memories that I had no recollection to whatsoever. My mind blocked them out, and all of a sudden they came up, and they were quite traumatic. And so when traumatic memories come up, all of a sudden, when you're not even aware of them, it feels like your reality as you know it is dissolved. And if anything, you've fallen into darkness very quickly. And luckily, through the help of a very wise girlfriend that I had at the time, I was sent to a therapist. And that therapist, who was a practicing meditator too, together with the therapy that we did one-on-one, highly recommended that I'll meditate, which I was already beginning to. And that started really my journey of discovering what this body and mind is. And as I started a journey and experiencing the body, mind, and silent retreats. And one of the first things I did was go to a 10-day silent retreat at the age of 22, at the time when nobody, or not many people knew what meditation was. If anything, they thought whoever was meditating was going crazy or might get brainwashed or join in a cult. And that's what my family and my friends at the time thought, you know. But in silence, I discovered the roots to my pain. I discovered how pain works, how complicated and layered it is. And in a way, that was the beginning of my lab, because as I healed, what I clearly saw was my purpose, and that was to share that journey with many. And I wrote on my blackboard, I want to help as many people as possible. So after I wrote that down, I became a therapist at the age of 26. And that was the beginning of my therapeutic lab. And for the next 20 years, I work still every hour with people that are suffering with chronic pain and the effects of traumatic events. So that is my journey. Now, one of the first things that I want to introduce to you is, and to do with you, is to bring you back into your body. It's so important to come back to the body because oftentimes the body is forgotten. It's used, abused, and misused. And if anything, we disassociate it, we develop negative thoughts around it, negative beliefs around it, inadequacy around our bodies, and we take it for granted until something happens. And I always say your body is the most loyal aspect of you. When you think of loyalty, what's most loyal about you is your body. It's there for you every day, especially through the most difficult parts of your life. Your mind is not very loyal, and your emotions are definitely not. So the only loyalty that is left is in your body. So at some point, you must reintegrate yourself to your body. So I'm going to take you, instead of explaining and showing you many slides of why is it so important, I want you to experience it. And I want you to remember this exercise because your body is so intelligent, and I want you to start to tap into the intelligence that is there. Okay? So if you don't mind, again, sit comfortably. And initially, we're going to start with scanning our bodies from the feet up. So just bringing awareness, that's all it is. We're not going to meditate here. We're just going to be really mindful, just like we were when we were touching the waterfall. We're going to be really mindful, and we're going to scan body part by body part. Okay? So you start with your feet. Feel your feet really grounded. If you're lying down or sitting, start at the feet. Feel your feet, feel them grounded to the floor. And start to bring your awareness to one foot and then the other, to one leg and then the other. Back of the legs, front of the legs. Moving to the hips. We store a lot in our hips. Check one side of the hip and then the other. Just scanning with your awareness, with your inner awareness. Going up the tailbone, your coccyx, your sacrum, your pelvic bones, spine, going up the spine, up the back, the lower back, middle back, upper back, and going through your abdomen, your cavity, all the different quadrants in your cavity, your ribs, your chest, inside the rib cage, your heart, your lungs, moving to your shoulders and your throat and your neck area. Okay, your arms, fingertips, joints. Back to the neck, the back of the neck. Moving into the back of the head, sides of the head, the front and the top. Your forehead, your face, cheeks, jaw, nose, eyes. And as you scan in your body in this way, choose an area of pain, discomfort, blockage, or where you feel maybe a sense of void. So choose one area. You can write this area down on a pad or piece of paper, or you can just remember it. It's up to you. So let me know when you found that area. Either with a thumbs up. Good. And if you didn't find today, that's okay. You can always come back to this. So once you chose that pain of this, that area of pain, discomfort or blockage, where there's maybe even a sense of void, ask your body, is there anything more about this pain or blockage? Is there anything more about this pain or blockage? And allow your body to show you. It can show you with images, it can show you with a sound, a movement, a metaphor. I might show you how it connects to another area. So does it connect to other areas in my body? This pain that I'm feeling in this area, does it connect to other areas of the body? And if it does, where else? Try and map it out with your inner awareness. For example, for me, I feel a little bit of achiness in my lower back. And as I ask that question, I feel the connection to my hips and my ankles. So in that same way, try and find those pathways with your inner awareness. Again, as you find that connection, ask again, is there anything else about this connection or area of pain? Is there a color that comes up with it, a shape, a visual, movement, a sound, a metaphor? And trust in the feedback that you receive. And if you don't receive anything today, that's okay. But trust in whatever you are receiving. Pay attention to it. Don't question it. Especially if it doesn't make sense, trust that. Good. Now ask the body, what can I do to change it? What can I do to change this pattern? What can I do to change this pain? Ask the body, what can I do to change this pain that I'm feeling in this area? What can I do to change this pattern? Or what do you need me to do to change it? What do you need me to do to change it, body? And as you get that feedback, give the body what it wants and observe what happens when you do that. So whatever feedback you receive from your body, give your body what it wants you to do with it. Either give it in the moment or you can give it later. If you're not comfortable. But what happens when you give it what it wants? And then you repeat until there's nothing else, nothing more, no more feedback. And then you thank the body. Thank you, body. And bring some gratitude to your body, to the intelligence that is there. Because again, your body is your manager, your storage facility, and your most loyal aspect of yourself. So thank you, body, and bring some gratitude. Good. Well, thank you for sharing that experience here with me. I hope it was helpful. So just practice it. It's something that you can always come back to. And the more you practice, the more in touch with your body you will get. Anybody wants to share quickly? Anything that they notice or experience? You can raise your hand, unmute yourself and let me know. Anybody wants to share? Remember, sharing is caring. Nobody wants to share? Okay, we can move on.
Sorry, their
Yep.
hands are up.
Which one? Am I missing them?
I have my hand up, and I think there's two more hands up.
Okay, you go ahead. Whoever is speaking now. Hard for me to see you all.
Okay, hi, I'm Pooja. Yeah,
Pooja.
no, the feedback that I got was actually just a sensation of coldness. So I'm trying to interpret that, and I'm thinking, could that be just lack of circulation? Is that what it's signifying?
It could be a lot of things, coldness. It could be fear. It could be a lack of circulation. It could be many things. So you can repeat the same question with your body. Is there anything else about this coldness that I need to know?
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, follow the hints, the information, the symptoms that the body gives you.
Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, Vicky.
Hi. I got the sensation almost in my face, like I thought there was emotion involved with the body pain. And it was in my lower back, and I could feel it in my legs and all the way up my back. And then the message I got was just to show compassion, like to be kind and listen and allow for the feeling to come up. And I think I often hold emotion in my body, and I'm a firm believer in allowing my body or myself to express when I have and to pay attention to the emotion or the pain or whatever it is. I like this meditation a lot. Thank you for that.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the jaw, I always call it the lid.
Yeah.
You know, put a lid on it.
Right?
So the jaw tends to hold a lot of tension, definitely.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
One more, Rubina. Thank you for sharing, Vicky.
Yep.
Go ahead, Rubina.
Hi. So what happens when you don't hear an answer, when you ask the body what it needs?
You just have to wait. And if you're still not hearing an answer, then you don't want to hear.
Okay.
Because the body will always give you feedback. It always does. It's your feedback mechanism.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the only thing I heard earlier today, I'm recovering from a car accident from last September.
It could be numbness, not feeling, right?
Mm.
So numbness, void is also a symptom. It's also a mechanism. So not feeling, not receiving feedback could be numbness. I'm not saying it is, but it's something to explore.
Yeah, the only thing I heard is I don't want to go for treatments anymore.
Yeah. So is there anything else about that? This is where you keep repeating that question.
Okay.
It's one question that you keep on repeating.
Okay, thank you.
And the body is very simple. It always gives us a yes or no answer. And it deals with simple questions. And the answers are quite simple and clear. And often they're not answers for the mind. Sometimes they don't even make sense, but that's great. Okay, so thank you all for sharing that. Yeah, what is complex pain? You know, complex pain, I used to go to those pain conferences and hearing all these pain experts talking about pain. And what was funny, many of them were suffering, well, it wasn't funny, it was actually quite sad, but many of them were suffering from their own complex chronic pain, and they've gone to the extreme of planting devices to stop their pain in their bodies. And those devices sometimes will malfunction. So if you have to press a button on this device to block your nerve pain, and all of a sudden that button doesn't work, you're in constant pain because the device is constantly on. I mean, those are the things that they're coming up with. And many of them said, and we know the clinics to go to and the people to see and the places to call. And still the process is so arduous and so complicated. And there's such a lack of communication and integration between different specialists that even doctors themselves get caught in the shuffle of that. So imagine, you know, us, right? And trying to run around and get all the answers and information that we need and having different practitioners talk to each other. That's why many of us get caught in this cycle and circuit of chasing our pain. It's a phenomenon. It's actually a disease, I believe. It afflicts 7 million Canadians. It costs society, governments, and families more than cancer, heart disease, and HIV combined. It's the #1 cause besides getting a cold that people actually go and see a doctor or go to the hospital emergency room. Yeah, and really what I've learned over the years, that you must address all aspects of the person, because pain that becomes complex infiltrates and affects every layer of the person, every layer of the person's life, biological, the psychological, and even the social, and I would say even the spiritual. So you need, you know, expertise from different backgrounds to really understand and help the patient, and that's rare these days. You know, this is how stress, we all know this, stress really causes and affects everything. It affects the brain, affects the heart, the joints, creates more inflammation, affects your gut. If you absorb it, the food, or don't, if you can ingest the food or not, creates a lot of discomfort there. It affects your reproductive organs and your immunity. So stress, I remember when I started as a therapist, Time magazine, and that's how I knew that was the path for me. Time magazine had actually a cover story, and it said, stress is the #1 cause of illness for the 21st century. And that was a big sign for me. Well, I'm going in the right direction, because we can see it now more than ever. I mean, chronic pain impacts your enjoyment of life, impacts your feelings, impacts your concentration, your sleep, your quality of sleep, your energy levels affected by pain. So very soon you start to chase your tail with this pain cycle. You know, there's pain, Then there's fears about the pain, fears about the future. Then there's more persistent pain, and that creates less activity, loss of fitness, less energy, poor sleep. And you can see how many of us get caught in this cycle of pain. Now, oftentimes, to stop the cycle, you must move and transition where you habitually are operating from. And most of us, when we are in a chronic state, any kind of chronic state, either pain, disease, or effects of traumatic events, or this collective chronic stress, most of us are habitually operating from our limbic system, from the back of the brain. So this particular breath method, when you're under duress, when you fall into an anxiety, or just before a panic attack, when you feel stress is coming, when you're triggered, when your arousal cycle spikes, this one method can stop it right away and can bring you back to operate from the back of the brain to the front, to your frontal cortex. So I'm going to take you through it, and you're going to experience the benefits of it. It recirculates your blood from the limbic brain, that what they call the primitive brain, to your frontal cortex. It oxygenates the blood and reduces blood vessel constriction. So those of you that suffer from headaches, migraines, tension in the neck, tension in the face, this starts to reverse it. It begins to influence your vagus nerve, the nerve that controls so many aspects of your organ systems, your breath, your heart, your digestion, your urinary tract. It helps slow down the arousal cycle, and we'll talk about it soon. And it reduces the activity in your hormonal system too, and that's where your adrenals are pumping, and you start to develop hormonal imbalances with time. So the breath method, I call it cooling the circuit, because it actually feels like your brain starts to cool when you use this simple method. Well, I call it simple because it's really easy, but it took time to figure this one out, but it does work. Okay, so the method is quite simple. You breathe from the nose all the way back to the back of your brain, and then when you breathe out, you breathe as if you're blowing through a straw. You take your time on the exhalation. So this is what it looks like and sounds like. So let's all do that. Take a breath in and out. Breath in and out. Breath in. I'm going to do about 4 minutes of that. And out. Breath in through the nose. Feel it going into your brain and out through the mouth. In, out. In and out. Blow out all that stress. Take your time. In and out. Yeah, feel that flow. Breath in. Breath in. in. In and out. When you inhale through the nose, allow your abdomen to relax. In and out. In and out. And it's almost, you might even feel it going from the brain down to the abdomen and out through your lips, like you're creating a circle. And out. And through the nose. And notice what happens with your mind as you're doing this. And what's the feeling around the mind, the face, the body. Helps to close your eyes. In and out. Good job. In and out. In and stress out. In through the nose. And out. Good. In and out. In and out. In and out. In and out. Good. One last one. In and out. Really keep your focus internally and feel what it feels like after just doing this for 4 minutes. Took only 4 minutes to do the simple way of changing our position, operational stance. How do you feel? You can raise your hand and share a little bit. That'll be great. Yeah, it should feel like a cloud moves from the brain and dissipates. A heavy burden comes off the brain. And if it doesn't happen in 4 minutes, 4 to 5 minutes, then make it a little longer. Depends how triggered you are. So who wants to share with us? If you can raise your hand. Go ahead, Vicky.
Actually feeling, a little, almost a bit lightheaded, but very grounded. It's almost like I pulled myself into my chair almost and really sunk into my body. Like, that's really neat. Like, I like that too. I love breathing.
It's like all the attention and pressure that we give to our brain,
Yeah.
that starts to dissipate, and you start to feel the solidity of your body.
Yes. That's
And the
exactly what I
way-
felt. I felt really like, wow, grounded. I'm going to use that actually. I like that because I can unground myself sometimes. And when I do workshops too, and I think, oh, that's a really good way to ground myself before a workshop or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Excellent.
it's great when you're triggered, when you're stressed at
Yeah,
work
yeah,
or
true. Yeah.
or at home. If you hear the news and you get fearful
Oh, yeah.
during those fearful times, just to come back to that breath. All it takes is 4 or 5 minutes, and the more you practice it, the quicker you can come back to yourself.
Yeah. Perfect.
And,
Yeah. I love it.
and start to see a little clearer.
I'm going to use it with my participants too. I think that'll
Fantastic.
work really well just for opening, grounding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Vicky, for sharing. Anybody else wants to share quickly?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah, I had not a dissimilar experience. I was particularly noticed a release of tension in my neck, which was really nice. I knew I was carrying some tension there, but I think it's been so long, I almost forgot what it felt like to release like that.
That's fantastic. And again, when you oxygenate the blood, you reduce the constant restriction in there too. And once you move out of that fear state or that habitual state that you're in into your frontal cortex, again, it feels like the pressure balances out in the rest of the body, and you start to feel more grounded, more in your skin,
Mm-hmm.
more present, and pain and tension dissipates. Go ahead, Pooja.
I'm actually feeling a little lightheaded. Like it was a real effort to open my eyes and participate again.
Yeah, the lightheadedness again. When we under duress, we don't bring enough oxygen into the body. And that's the precursor to an acidic, inflamed, diseased environment. So if you want to regain your health, if you want to help reverse chronic pain, reverse chronic disease, you must bring more oxygen into the body. And it's cheap. It doesn't cost anything. Okay, it's bioavailable. It's always there. Okay, so part of you feeling lightheaded is just again feeling what you feel like when you're not under duress, when adrenaline is not running you. So when you start to regulate yourself, adrenaline lives, and sometimes we actually feel quite fatigued all of a sudden when the adrenaline feels quite lightheaded, maybe a little wobbly. And
Yeah, that's what I'm feeling, a bit wobbly.
Yeah. And again, use your body to ground you. You are grounded. You just eliminated a lot of stress out of your head. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Good. Well, thank you all for sharing that. And again, I've used it for many years. It works. And it's simple, and you can do it anywhere. It's cheap. It's not costing you any money. And we underestimate the power of breath, the power of the right breath. Okay. Now, what I've learned from my own personal experience and from working with tens of thousands of patients over the last 20 years is traumatic events, exposure to trauma, or witnessing a trauma is a beginning of many chronic conditions that we experience. And actually, underneath almost any disease or any disorder that I've seen, and it's not just my own observations, there's large amount of data out there that underneath most diseases and chronic conditions, trauma is in the root of it. And one of the reasons my parents came to Canada, to the safe haven, like many immigrants do, because the perception is Canada is safe. But the statistics show that it's not that safe. And these are hardcore stats. And when I say statistics, those are people that were courageous enough to raise their hands and to say, yeah, I'm part of the statistic. But there's a lot more people, men and women, that don't raise their hands because of shame. Okay. So 80% will experience some form of trauma in their life. 10%, so if there's 30 million Canadians, 10 million will experience some form of post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay. 50% of women, so we have so many women here in the online here. And when I saw this stats, I started to look at my mother, my sister, my friends, and I had, and of course that confirmed what I was seeing in my practice. Even at an early stage, so many women will confide in me, you know, that one of either a physical trauma, an emotional trauma, or a sexual trauma that they've experienced, and how healing it was to work with a man for them. And that actually made me a better man as I got older. just seeing how much trauma women experience. Men are not that far behind. So 30% of men also either have experienced violence or sexual trauma, and many men don't speak. We are silent about our abuses and traumatic events. This was a study done only in 2008. 1.5 million Canadians will experience chronic pain, half of them over 10 years or more. So it confirms the little sample that we did in the beginning on the questionnaire. And there's probably more. Trauma affects everything, creates panic attacks, addictions, depression. You know, and we see now with this pandemic, the collective trauma that we all are experiencing, which is really fueling our own individual traumas and triggering us in all kinds of ways. So if you don't address your traumas, your chronic pains, in my experience, do not go away. So at some point, you must acknowledge and address the roots. Now, when we live under those conditions, we live in different states. And what I want you to do is to look closely, and again, I will send this to everyone, but to look closely at what state you've been habitually operating under. So it's normal for many of us to experience stress, and we actually are designed to deal with stress really well. We are the masters of adaptation. We are the best adapters in nature. So we can adapt to the most extreme conditions. Now, the problem with that, we don't have to live like that for the rest of our lives. And some of us live in a certain state for the rest of their lives, even though the event or the stage, the difficult stage, has passed away. So most of us either live in flight or in fight. So which one are you? Are you one that lives in fight and, you know, frustrated, irritated, angry, ready to overcome something, ready for the next thing that is coming? Here's another thing that I have to do. Here's another thing that I have to overcome. It's just around the corner. I have to get ready for it. And then we get frustrated, irritated, angry, and maybe even move to rage. Blood pressure is affected. Insulin levels are affected. Adrenaline is running you. The oxygen is affected. The blood is affected. Or are you one that runs away, avoids, numbs, constant worry and concern, anxiety, fear, or panic? Which one are you? What state have you been operating under? And when it comes to a point in your arousal cycle when it's too much, because you can manage one state for so long. And I've seen some amazing managers in my life. I've seen the best managers in my life, and the people that come to me, I salute them because we can manage a lot. Like I said, we can manage incredible suffering, or incredible amount of pain, or incredible amount of stress. But at some point, we are overwhelmed with it. We break down. So we move to a state of freeze, where we can feel constant shame, we can shut down, we can disassociate, we can feel numb, depressed, become insular, we conserve our energy, we feel helpless. Some of us feel like we are dying, we're close to it, trapped. So look at those states very carefully and understand what state you are operating under. It's really important that you see it very clearly. Because at some point, we must come back to joy, being more in the present, to feel more grounded. Instead of feeling fearful when a threat is imminent, or a pain is imminent, or a disease is imminent, we must be more open and curious. What is this pain? Why is it here? Or what is this fear that I'm experiencing? When did it start? What's the purpose of it? What is it here to teach me? That's when you start to move towards resolution, towards feeling more balanced, more compassion for yourself, more mindful. So at some point, we must live on this nice wavy line. From time to time, of course, we're going to be triggered and aroused. But knowing and having the tools to bring ourselves back to this state of joy, state of balance, state of compassion. And that's what we lose with time. That's where the suffering begins. So again, recognize where you're at. You don't have to share today, but I want you to see it and be honest with yourself where you've been operating under. Because when people come to me, I see the body never lies. It tells right away what state you've been living under. And there's no state that I've seen that is manageable, even with the strongest ones. Like I said, at some point, it will bring you down to a breaking point. So when you have pain that is not going away, and it's in multiple areas, and you're feeling it every day, you are reaching your breaking point. When your suffering is constant, when you're in that state of overwhelm, when you are spending years trying to resolve something that's not resolved, and the burden is heavy with time, you will reach a breaking point, or life will give you one. A stroke, an accident, a loss of a job, a loss of love. At some point, you'll reach a breaking point. And usually that's when I see them. Symptoms of fear. When we reach our breaking point, or when we get caught in a chronic state, fear builds walls. And many of your current symptoms right now, as you are experiencing them, many of your symptoms currently right now are fears. They are a result of fear and what they do to your nervous system and the body. The longer your fear is, the quicker degeneration happens. The more fears you have, the louder your pain is. So fears, I call them fears with evidence. They create resistance to commitment to change. They're self-sabotage. They create negative thought patterns, negative beliefs. They create a lot of your symptoms, your disorders, your diseases, and dysregulations. They create your blind spots. When you operate with fear, you only operate from here to here. Your eyes and your senses become hyper-focused. and become narrow because of it. So when you live life from here to here, you can't see what's behind the hands. You can't see the whole picture. You only see what you see from here to here. When you start to remove your blind spots, when there's no need for the evidence of your fears, you start to remove your the blocks on your perception. You start to see things as a whole with no fear. Avoidance, running, busyness, numbness are all signs of fears. Over-involvement with self, over-involvement with others are all symptoms of fears. Depression, isolation, darkness. This is the wall that you're facing. This is the wall that we always face. We bash our head against this wall. We try really hard. We bring others. Can you make this wall go away from me? Can you make it better? Is there a way to sneak under the wall? Is there a way to jump over it? There is no way until you break through it. So this is what you are dealing with. This is what many of your symptoms are and your disorders. So at some point, you got to deal with those fears. For that, you need vulnerability. You need to say, I need help. I don't know. I really don't know. I need help. You have to be vulnerable with yourself and vulnerable with others. That's the beginning. To me, that's the key. If we don't have vulnerability, it's difficult. Very difficult. Vulnerability to me is the key out of a prison that we are in. And pain can be like a prison. I felt it. My traumas were like a prison. I felt the walls closing in. I remember it like it was yesterday. I will never forget. So a chronic state of suffering can be like a prison. We can live in a castle, but it can still be a prison. It's actually worse sometimes because I live in a castle and everybody's telling me I'm doing so great. So why do I feel the way do I feel? Why am I suffering so much? That's difficult. So at some point we lose trust. And we have to come back to embody trust. So I'm going to give you a tool, because without trust, without embodying it, not trust the concept that you know, that you've been taught, but the kind of trust where your mind, your heart, and your body reintegrates. Embodied trust is what unifies every system in your body to work for you, not against you. Because chronic pain, the people come to me and they say, I'm broken. And I will say, you're not broken, you're just disorganized. You're not broken. If you were broken, you wouldn't survive. You're just disorganized. And you lack trust. And your army, which is the body, has lost trust in the queen or the general, which should run the show. There's no trust inside. So at some point, we must come back to embodied trust. And this is one way. This is you can call it a prayer, an exercise. And when I do this in person with people, they're amazed because many of the symptoms start to change. Many of their physical, mental, emotional symptoms of their state immediately changes when you insert embodied trust. And this is one way of doing it. So I want you to sit comfortably, put your left hand on your heart, on your body, anywhere. And as you say these words, you're not saying it to anybody except you. And you're going to say them with meaning. Remember, vulnerability is the key. And this is how you're going to say it. I call it unconditional forgiveness. Because if you don't learn unconditional forgiveness, you don't learn what embodied trust is. and you don't experience unconditional love. A lot of our love to ourselves and others is conditional. It's bound to be broken. And our trust is conditional. It's bound to be broken. But when we learn how to unconditionally forgive, we learn what embodied trust is, meaning your trust is in every fiber of your body. Everywhere you go, you carry trust. And when you start to install that kind of trust inside, that's the beginning to integration, to healing, to regeneration. If we don't have that, it's very hard to recover. It's very hard to resolve. So this is how it goes. I forgive myself unconditionally. Say it. I forgive myself unconditionally. I forgive myself for the things I've done and the things I have not done. I forgive myself for the things that I've said and the things I have not said. Now this next line, you're gonna say as if you really mean it. Okay? I love myself. I don't see a lot of people that really mean it. It's like, it's pathetic self-love here. I love myself. Yeah, and you say it as if you reclaim what's there. You don't have to conjure it. You don't have to recruit it from somewhere. It's not missing, it's there. And you say it as if you are finally reclaiming it. I love myself. Okay, now I start to believe some of you. Okay, I promise to care for myself. I promise to protect myself. Even for myself. I promise to nurture a relationship with myself. Good. Now this next line you're gonna say as if you had enough. You're gonna bring that enough energy. Okay? I forgive myself unconditionally. Say it as if you had enough, God damn it. Come on. I forgive myself unconditionally. Now all pain, darkness, and negativity leave. Now all pain, darkness, and negativity leave. Now all pain, darkness, and negativity leave. It's like a bad tenant. You want him to leave. He's hoarded in your house and he doesn't want to leave. That's right. Good. I am the master of this being. I am the master of this being. I am the master of this being. Good. Take a few deep breaths, 3 of them into your heart. Yeah, if we don't have embodied trust, we don't have boundaries. Trust and boundaries, they coexist. If you're struggling with boundaries in your life, it's because you don't have trust. If you want to make your boundaries stronger, you must strengthen your trust. And that will strengthen you. How did that feel for you? Who wants to share? Anybody wants to share? Raise your hand. Yeah, go ahead. Go
Yeah,
ahead, Nathan.
yeah. As I've done this with you a number of years ago now, and this is
What do you remember that we did it face to face? What did we do specifically?
it was very
Remember?
yeah, it was hand over heart, and it was a lot of you shouting at me to do it authentically, just like you did today, and a lot of it.
What did we do with our hands? Remember?
Well, we preface it with an embodied like boundaries
That's right.
exercise.
And we did a before and after, right?
Yeah, we did. Yeah. I was going to comment that today I actually found the first half of it much easier and much more like it was easier for me to connect with authentically, as I said it, the forgiveness. The promise of accountability was actually harder, and I don't know why, but today it was much more challenging for me to connect with and to say powerfully.
Because again, there's a part of us, I promise to protect myself even from myself. There's a part of ourselves that does not believe us, does not trust, will question everything, will question you, what you say, what you believe, what somebody else says. So it's hard to feel authentic. It's hard to feel that accountability sometimes. But to say it even when you don't believe it, even when you don't feel it, is more important. Especially when you don't feel it, is more important. Think of it like a deposit of money into a bank account.
Mhm.
And right now your trust fund is low. You don't have any funds. I'm not saying you, Nathan. So deposit anyways, even if it's $5, $10. We are developing trust is a daily practice. Something that we must practice consciously, even when we don't trust, especially when we don't trust. Because who hears that is your body. Who will believe it with time is your body. And that's who you recruit first before your mind even believes it. You recruit your body's trust first, even before your mind sees it, believes it, smells it, acknowledges it. Okay? Go ahead, Dawn. Just unmute yourself.
I have been doing this for quite a while as well. Yeah, I just noticed, not just today, but over, I don't know, it's been a year, 2 years I've been working with you. And I do this pretty much every morning before I get out of bed. And I've noticed when it comes to a promise to protect myself, even from myself, because most of my life, I've always kind of had the thought just in the back of my mind of, I can't wait for it to be over. Not that I'm suicidal, but whenever my time is up, like, that's my time.
Yes.
Where that thought form has changed. I don't really think about, like, it, not that I sit around and think about it all the time, but I just know that there's been, I notice a shift within myself in terms of the protecting myself, as well as nurturing a relationship with myself. Yeah, so just wanted to mention that.
Thank you, Don.
You're welcome.
Thank you for sharing that.
You're
Anybody
welcome.
else wants to share quickly?
I can. I thank you
Go
for
ahead.
that.
Who was that? Oh, Vicky? You go ahead. Vicky.
Yeah, I found myself just saying it sort of off the, like just saying, and I thought that I need to take myself seriously if I'm going to actually believe this. And it's almost like I got to incorporate all of me. And it was really interesting because even as I got to the end, I was thinking, wow, I am the master of this being. I'm going to take care of this being. And I felt really dedicated to me, I guess, or to the affirmation. And I really appreciated having done it. And then as I was reading it again and again, and I was going like, wow, yeah, I can do that. It was like, it was sort of starting to agree with me. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
And again, I've shared this with God, maybe thousands of people now.
Mm-hmm.
And this has brought people even from suicidal ideation, from taking
Mhm.
of ending their life.
Yeah.
And when I do this in person, I do a very physical exercise with boundaries. And when we do this exercise together, the person really gets a snapshot of how they're doing physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And then I give this exercise for the person to do right after, and we do the exercise again. And over 90% of people experience changes right away
Okay.
in their physical pain,
Hmm.
in their mental attitude, in their capacity. So
Mhm.
before maybe they were tired, now they had energy. Before they were grounded, now they're grounded. Before they were afraid, anxious, now that changes. And even the state starts to change. And that's a real snapshot with a simple exercise like that. And actually, we do this exercise one-on-one as a check-in every so often to also show that you're changing, even when your mind doesn't believe
Hmm.
that you're changing.
Hmm.
Understand? Well, thank you all for sharing that. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're going to use it, over and over, because it does really help. These are the 5 principles of NeuroPath Reset, and what I'm going to share in this class series today was to share some of those tools that we need, some trust, some interest in scanning the body and understanding the intelligence inside. But the 5 principles, the first one I always like to work on the alignment, because the way you hold yourself always tells the story of your life. Your alignment, you cannot hide with your alignment. Your alignment tells the story of your life. It's the map of your life and how you operate. So if you want to change, the first thing that you visibly can see is how you carry yourself, how you hold. And as you realign your physical self, there are changes that start to ripple inward. And we're going to do it in a very easy way. Introducing ease into the nervous system, because your nervous system dictates your alignment. Your nervous system dictates your alignment and your chronic patterns, your chronic pain patterns. So to start to change your nervous system, you must change the alignment, but to do it in an easy way, in a way that does not conjure up a threat or pain or discomfort. So this way that I will introduce is done with ease. And when you do things with ease and with intelligence with the nervous system, things start to change very quickly. And your body, again, will give you immediate feedback. Less pain, less discomfort, more range, more energy, better way of breathing, better way of carrying myself. I feel more relaxed. Those are some of the immediate feedbacks that start to happen when you change the nervous system, when you start to realign yourself. And the consequence of realignment is a reset that happens in the body and the mind. It feels like you're coming back to yourself again. It just feels that you're shedding some layers of tension and some layers of pain. And that's what I call a reset. And with every movement that we will do, we will create a reset until the whole body is reset and the mind with it. The third principle is release. Once your nervous system feels safe, once it feels like it's resetting, then to teach you how to release whatever is hidden. And what are hidden are your emotions, your memories that you're storing, your traumas that you're storing. And where they're hidden, they're always hidden in the viscera. So a lot of the pain that you're experiencing currently, a lot of your symptoms are visceral, of visceral origin. So anytime you had a heartbreak, a betrayal, an experience that you couldn't digest, and overwhelmed, where you felt it was in the viscera. Every time you've had an accident, a fall, a procedure, an invasive procedure, a surgery, where it was stored is in the viscera first, before your mind even understood and conjured a way to deal with it. So you can only release what's hidden or what is stored when your nervous system is reset, when it's relaxed. And the best person to release it is you. So I will teach you how to release what's underneath and how to get acquainted with your viscera. Okay? And after we release, whatever is hidden, we must build some resilience. And again, when we're under chronic pain, chronic stress conditions, chronic diseases, we lose resilience. I mean, we have resilience, but it becomes weak. We must build some strength and some resilience in our nervous system, in our vascular system, in our endocrine system. And I will introduce a tool or a few tools at that point to start to build resilience in those major systems that are atrophied with time. And then we have to learn also how to reintegrate ourselves after those 4 steps. Reorient ourselves in a new posture, a new way of feeling and being and operating. So those are the 5 principles that will be taught in the next 5 weeks. And those tools, you can use them for life. Some of you have used them already, I know, in this forum here. And I always get the feedback from my patients, so that those tools are so handy. I still use them. They help me so much. So, you know, and those are the benefits. You'll get to identify some of the patterns of your pain. Today you were introduced to it. You can use them daily in a sequence or separately to help you facilitate change. You can achieve resilience even just in 6 weeks. You can start to build some emotional strength. You can start to reverse some patterns in the body and the mind. You start to release some of those negative patterns, create space for new habits in life, and start to move towards resolution. Some of your pains will go away. Sometimes they'll go away instantly. Some of your visceral pain, you know, the stress that you feel in your gut, in your heart, in your lungs, in your kidneys, some of that starts to go away. Some of you are going to cry. Some of you might break down. And if maybe 1 or 2 of you want to quit. But whatever happens can be handled. You know, it's not for everyone. Your vascular system will improve. Your spine and your structure will start to improve. Your organ function will start to improve with time. Obviously, circulation will improve. Your balance will improve. And some of your hormones will start to kick in. So that can happen as soon as the next 5 weeks. And as you use those tools, it will happen. If you are vigilant and you will use those tools, it will happen. So the cost, for those that haven't registered yet, for the rest of the classes, the cost is $350 plus GST. You can reach out. I can send a link. And it's every Wednesday from 6 to 7:15, and you can also do it in a couple of payments. So that's it. Well, thank you very much. And I just want to put up another little poll that I created. Let's see. Okay, let me do the next one. do the next one. Ah, I don't know how to do the next one. Okay, how are you feeling? Maybe let me know, forget the poll. How do you feel? Anybody's symptoms that we started with? Any symptoms changed? Any change? A little change? A lot of change? No change? Nathan, let me know. So beside the neck,
Yeah, there's been change, diminishment.
good.
Yep.
Anybody else? Maxine?
Not really any change, but I have some hope. So that is a change, right? So
Fantastic.
physically, yeah, but mentally, yes, change.
Good. Sherry?
I'm a little calmer, but I was rushing right off work, but yeah, a little calmer. Thank you.
Thank
A
you
little
very
bit more
much.
relaxed.
Thank you, Wilhelmina.
But I didn't know how long it would take. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Lolly, anybody else?
I'm curious to learn more. I really am. It really is.
Fantastic. So you can say, I can send you a link, Vicky.
Yes,
You
please.
can join up. Yeah, absolutely. If anybody else wants to join that hasn't signed up yet, send me a link. Send me an email. Everybody has my email?
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Do you do private sessions as well? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll send you an email.
Sounds good, Pooja.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. I
Yeah.
just went a
Yeah.
little over
Yeah.
time. I wanted to give you a lot today that you can use for the next few days. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for joining me. And I
Thank
look
you.
forward to having you in my classes or privately.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, Michal. Bye.
You're welcome.
Thanks so much
Great.
for your help.
You're welcome.
Thank you.